bitching, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm like him to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess I'll lit, I guess I'll bitch, now let's go.
Show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a Tuesday, which means it's a little sports nonsense and whiskey time. Hanging with my boy, Pinky. Cheers, my guy.
It's not whiskey tonight, but it's still alcohol, so.
Yeah, you're going to need to be careful with that. The comments might get a little nasty because that's not anywhere close to brown water, my guy.
Yeah, I've got a bottle of Four Roses, but I'm saving it for my trip to South Dakota. So
I mean, I can't hate on that. You could always just, get another one, but
I could, but
I get it.
I get it. More money. You want to invite our surprise guest?
Should we? I don't know. I thought I'd make him, back, sweat it out a little bit. Wait.
Yeah, we like Cam.
Nah, we're good. Cam, come on. Everybody knows this guy. We love having him. He's part of the network. How you doing tonight? Timing. Perfect.
Y'all caught me drinking some of that high-quality H2O.
How you doing tonight, guy?
I'm doing good. Just caught me nibbling on a cheeserito or a quesarito.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely fun, and I see that the NFL scene is, coming up, and we got Richie Rich in the building.
Right. So, yeah. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm doing good, bud. You know what? I was just going to say is like, that with the NFL season drawing a close, what that also means. It means that Nebraska football is also coming back here soon. So that's so there's also that part of this.
Cam, I love that, but if we had a bet between Pinky and I would owe him a lot of money right now. Because I said, when you come on the next couple of times, we can keep it without going down that road because the season.
Oh, this thing went like 5 minutes.
less than 5.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And then the viewership goes down.
I'm never going to be mad about it. I'm never going to be mad.
We're not talking
Cam,
golf, though.
You and I both know that trash and the viewership goes down. They can be really good. The viewership goes down, and either way, they're still hated. So nothing changes except for how Nebraska's doing.
That's right. But golf was good today. Thanks, you, Pinky. Yeah, golf was good today. Shot an 88.
Saw you. Nice. Where'd you play?
Just off a course right next to us, which is Plum Creek. So.
I'm familiar with Plum Creek.
Yeah.
Wait, Castle Rock, Plum Creek?
that would be the one that is being massively uplifted, if you will, or facelifted.
I had friends that worked there in high school, but I have yet to been able to grace my presence on that course.
Now might be a good time with the amount of renovations and stuff that they've done to the place. I mean, the clubhouse is finally done. They've done a lot of remodeling on some of the holes. Basically, with the fact that you have new owners, and of course, with the fact that you have them trying to truly kind of make it like a TPC Colorado, like a really nice course, and plus like. My nemesis holes are 15, 16, 17, and 18. And if you play, I'd say 16, and then maybe even, somewhat of, 17 maybe? Like you get a little bit of a feel of sawgrass. And it's a Pete Dye course. So it's highly, highly recommended.
Have you played Spring Valley out in Elizabeth?
No.
Dude, you got to get out there. Highly recommend. That's one of my favorite courses in the area right now. That course is a lot of fun.
Yeah, the only course that I played that it's like far out, I should say, is we were pretty fortunate to play Ballyneal.
Okay, nice, very nice. We'll have to get you down here and come play with us down here and get a little links-ish golf course down here.
Mini golf? I don't do mini golf.
No. Definitely not a mini golf.
That's for Pinky.
Definitely not a mini golf. No, this is a course probably as close as you're going to get to a links golf in Colorado. It's King's Deer.
I played it
down here. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
you're familiar then.
Yeah, so I play. I actually hated King's Deer when we played it, and that's probably because we probably lost every single one of our golf balls. But that's besides the point. It's a great course.
Yeah, it sounds like you did play it then. Speaking of golf, we got some quick hit topics to go through, and then we got some NFL to start discussing. So the Open Championship starts Thursday. Looking forward to the links golf and watching. It's just played so much differently than what you see on the American courses. So it's always fun to watch. Can Rory get his fifth finally? I heard Brooks is paired with Patrick Cantley for the first couple of rounds. So that should always be fun. Really slow versus somebody who wants to play really fast. Can Jordan Spieth come out? He's been playing well. Would love to see Ricky finally break through. Big Ricky Fowler guy. So I'd love to see him finally win a major. So a lot of good storylines going into the Open this week. So starts Thursday. For anybody that enjoys golf, I'm sure you'll be checking it out. Nice thing about the Open Championship is it's done. Your viewership is done real early in the day. So you can still go out and enjoy your Saturday and Sunday because you're done watching by 11 probably, with it being over in Great Britain, over in England. So this is at Scotland actually, but you get the gist.
Same thing.
Yeah, close
Not
enough.
really though. Yeah.
I mean, they all want some tea, right? And we dumped it in the harbor. So for us, it's all the same.
Right. And if you're a betting man, I think a safe bet is Scotty Scheffler being placed in the top 10, because that apparently, is a pretty safe bet lately. The way that he's, been on that tear, not necessarily winning tournaments, lately, but when you are consistently in the top 10, you are going to win tournaments. And so
agreed.
Can
John Rahm turn it around? He hasn't been playing too well as of late, last couple of tournaments. And he started off on fire, obviously won the Masters this year. So definitely a lot of storylines going into the Open. Last major of the year. So I know I'll be watching. Pinky will be front and center. He's just chomping at the bit for that to get kicked off.
Yeah, he's
definitely not.
He's gonna grab some nice chips and salsa. He's gonna sit in front of sit on his couch, and he's not gonna move. He's gonna sit there for all four days. Like he's gonna sit from that Thursday all the way to Sunday, not move. There'll be a dent in that couch. Like he will not move. And we're gonna document it all. It's gonna be a Netflix series called Pinky.
Solid. So golf. That's the amount of golf we're getting into this evening. Pinky, what do you got next?
Well, I know you like to talk about tennis.
I was going to talk about that a little bit. I was actually this final round, the championship round with Djokovic and Alcaraz was one of the best finals I've seen in quite a while. Actually, they had a second set match point. It was 6-6. Obviously, you got to win by 2. So when it gets to 6, it's just going to be 7-6. You play that match point to first one to 7 points. It was epic. The whole match was pretty epic, actually. Like I said, it's one of the best finals I've seen in a long time. It's really a changing of the guard. It's the beginning of the changing of the guard. Federer's done. Nadal, the likelihood of us seeing him at top form ever again is slim to none with his knee and back issues. Djokovic was kind of the last one standing. He is arguably the greatest of all time. He's got 23 majors. That's one more than Nadal. Looked like he was going to get 24 at Wimbledon, and Alcaraz broke through. Kid's 20 years old, number one player in the world. Won his first major at Wimbledon. He could be a name that is a lot of fun to watch for many years to come, because you do not see at this point in time somebody else playing at his level that's going to give him that competition like you saw with Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, kind of right in line with each other, and then competing a little bit in everybody's prime all at the same time, and then kind of went from Federer to Nadal to Djokovic, all kind of seamlessly. Alcaraz doesn't have anybody like that right now. There's nobody in the ranks that's going to really truly challenge him. One name that could give him some trouble, but he's getting a little bit older now, and for one reason or another, or many, cannot seem to get his head right to see his full potential, is Nick Kyrgios, who talent-wise, many have said is right up there with the best as far as talent. But that mental side of the game, he has trouble figuring out. I mean, he's been open about it. He's talked about it a lot. So if he could figure some things out, he could give Alcaraz a run for some of these majors. But other than him, I don't really see any names that are going to be competing with Alcaraz going forward. Now, Djokovic is still around. I give him another year or two at high-level tennis, so we could see a little bit of a rivalry here over the next, 7 to 8 majors, Grand Slams, I should say. But other than that, Alcaraz is up and coming, and I do believe we're seeing the changing of the guard before our very eyes, from the greatest that have ever played to a new up-and-coming who, maybe could challenge that, but obviously a long way to go. He's at 1, and those guys are all 20-plus. So we'll see how that plays out over the next, 5 to 10 years.
Got a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. We've got a little bit of baseball. We talked about it last week. I'm going to keep bringing it up every week now until the end of the season. Ohtani is doing special things. He is ahead of Aaron Judge's pace right now for that 62 in the American League as far as home runs go. He's got a better on-base percentage. He's got a better batting average. He's got more RBIs. Everything Ohtani is doing from the plate this year is epic. And, by the way, he's also one of the best pitchers in the game. So, if you get a chance to watch him, highly recommend it. If you get a chance to watch him on a night where he's pitching, he will also be hitting at the same time. Even more highly recommend that. This dude is creating history every night he's in the lineup. So
yeah,
never a bad thing to watch that.
To be fair, he's created history the moment the Angels drafted him, or even brought him over from Japan. Because the moment he stepped foot on a baseball field with the Angels, he's literally shown that he may be the greatest athlete we have ever seen. And actually, it's funny you brought that up, because we're actually going to have this conversation on mainly tomorrow to kind of tease a little bit of our topic. But we're going to have this conversation after we talk about the Broncos and camp battles and stuff like that. But we're going to bring this up because it's a very popular conversation, and I'd be curious to know what the people that are watching this and what you guys think, but like I've never seen someone. I mean, really, to the likes of like Dion. Like, and I know Dion's at the University of Colorado now coaching, but like Dion played baseball. Dion obviously was a wide receiver. Dion was a corner. But like, if you guys were to say like in terms of cross sports, like so this isn't baseball, but like this is like football or any other sport, who could you say like could potentially be a type of player like that, or even could you see a scenario like that in any other sport where you see an Otani, like for instance, like a goalie that's like, you know, has the speed of McCarr and, you know, the the goal scoring ability of McKinnon. You know, it's just like, but also has like the craziness to actually score, you know, a hat trick on a night, like, you know, or even save, you know, 40 to 50 shots. Like, it's just like, so like, what is a sport that you guys feel like, you know, where you could see that kind of Otani?
So I will always bring up 4 names when we're talking about insane athleticism. A couple of them didn't necessarily play two-way like you're talking about right now, like Otani pitching and hitting, Dion playing offense, defense kind of thing. But just insane athleticism. There's always 4 names that come to my mind, and there's a 5th that you could probably throw in there. I always start with Jim Thorpe. And for those that are not familiar with that name, go do some research because he is all of these guys before they existed. Jim Thorpe was beyond athleticism. Just incredible what he did way back when. We're talking early 1900s with Jim Thorpe.
Right.
I will always bring up Jim Brown with his lacrosse and his football. I believe he could have played middle linebacker if he truly wanted to. He just didn't. So that's somebody that always comes up. You mentioned Dion. I think always when Dion's name gets brought up, I personally believe you always have to talk about Bo Jackson. Had he not had that hip injury, or had he been in today's age, everybody said Tua had basically the exact same injury. Look what Tua is doing now. Basically didn't phase him. Science was able to catch up and give him something that unfortunately Bo didn't have in his time. The other name that I think you can throw in there with those 4 is Michael Jordan. And the reason I'll bring up Jordan is because in basketball, he was an elite defender and arguably the best offensive talent we've ever seen. And then he went and played some baseball. And I've read a lot of stuff that from baseball experts at that time that said had Michael Jordan continued to play baseball, he would have been in the majors, no doubt. Had he started with baseball, we would have been talking about him as an all-time great. That's what professional scouting guys in baseball at the time I've read had said about Michael Jordan. So to me, those are the 5 names that should always get talked about when we're discussing this. Some of them didn't quite do it in the same way that Otani did, but I believe Otani now is putting his name in as that 6th guy, where you're just seeing elite athleticism at just a different rate.
So I saw a stat today about Otani. In 474 games, he has the same amount of home runs as Babe Ruth, and he has the same winning record as a pitcher as well.
I saw that.
It's pretty absurd. One other guy that I would say that at least deserves some love is the guy who, you know, broke the color barrier, and that is Jackie Robinson. Is another one of those guys. Multi-talented athlete. You know, I mean, it was pretty well documented the amount of sports that he could play. So I would say Jackie Robinson is one of those. But my question was more for in the future. So like if you guys were to forecast something like in the future, do you guys see a Shohei Ohtani in the NHL? Do you see a Shohei Ohtani in the NFL? Like, because I find it funny and stupid at the same time when they show Patrick Mahomes, you know, when they did that little tweet the other day, like then they showed, you know, Pat Mahomes and, you know, and Shohei, because like again, we're talking about a guy, you know, and we're talking about certain, you know, athletes that certainly play different sports. That's nothing new though. I mean, we're talking about a guy like we're talking about a player that can play offense and defense basically for like the NHL, you know, NFL.
NHL is probably one of the easier ones because, like, if you could get a defenseman that could score, you know, 50 goals in a season, has that kind of scoring prowess, but also still one of the best defenders in the league, that definitely would change the game.
But see, to me, that would be a goalie though. For me, like it would have to be a goaltender for me, for like a Shohei Ohtani.
I mean, a goalie to be able to. I mean, is he just playing? Is he taking the pads off on his rest day and playing the game? Because I mean, you're not having a goalie score from the goalie net. I mean, that's not happening on a regular basis.
But he would have to be like a guy, and Caleb, you can chime in too. But it's just like it would have to be a guy that like he's not a goalie every night, but like he would be a goalie like, that's probably playing in probably 20 games, but like he's got probably a ridiculous percentage. He's probably saving about like about one puck, a little bit over one puck, a game, but he's scoring 20 to 30 goals a season, if not more, and he's putting up significant points. So it's just like I could probably definitely see a scenario where hockey would probably be that kind of scenario, but it would have to be a certain situation where he wouldn't necessarily be a full-time goaltender in that.
Right. That's a tough one. If he's so good as a goalie, though, you don't really want him.
Yeah.
That's on the ice.
I don't know if you'd ever see that in hockey. It's a cool thought, and it would be interesting to know. And I'm not hockey historian enough to know if anybody was even ability-wise had that capability that they could have done that, but just always played goalie. I'm a big basketball guy. I think basketball gets overlooked a lot in this conversation because the nature of the game forces you to play two ways, whether you like it or not. Now, in today's modern NBA, you don't see a lot of defensemen. You don't see a lot of lockdown defenders like you did in the 90s with the Jordans, the Pippins, the Rodmans. You see some guys try to specialize in it, like a Dylan Brooks. I don't think he's that good of a defender. I think just he runs his mouth and he bodies some guys up and he gets love for it, simply because it's not seen as much in the NBA these days. Kawhi would be a name that could get thrown in that hat, but he's never healthy enough to really truly see what that potential could have been, unfortunately, and which is crazy to say because he's got 2 finals MVPs, he's got 3 rings, and to say we've never seen his true potential is wild. I don't know, Cam. It's a great question. The way games are evolving today, I don't see any other sport doing it except for baseball. And I truly believe Ohtani is setting a precedent to where what he's doing could be much more commonplace in the future. Could we see another Ohtani? I don't know. I mean, this guy's not just once in a generation. He's once in a lifetime as far as talent goes. But I think baseball would be the one where we could see this replicated on a more broader scale to where you see more guys pitching and hitting at a higher level, just maybe not at Ohtani's level.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's baseball is where you definitely do see more of the Ohtanis of the world, because, and it's actually funny. If you actually look at it from the baseball side of things, like strictly baseball, it's actually kind of going and appealing more to people that are high school athletes, right? Or even like when you were in Little League, because like when you were in Little League and you were in high school, like you were a multiple position athlete on a baseball team. You could pitch, you could play outfield. So I mean, it's actually appealing like a lot of areas to where it's like it's almost like going like in full circle again of like you basically growing up as a little leaguer again, so it's kind of funny to see that. But baseball is 100% the sport where you would actually see that. And let's think back too, it's like it's also impossible for you to think, and the reason why I would say, like, if you were to probably say a sport where this could happen would have to be the NFL, and that's just simply because of the fact that the NHL is also the NHL, soccer, and the NBA is just way too fast paced for there to be someone like an Ohtani in that regard, where it's a pitcher who's, they're in the field, doing the pitching and whatnot. And then you have him going up to bat. Right. And so like the NFL, you actually have the opportunity for the offense to not be on the field. And then you have the opportunity, for him to maybe even play defense. So I would say it's more along the lines of the NFL side of things, where you actually, and there, in fact, you actually saw it not as an Ohtani, but you saw it somewhat, I would say, in preseason with a New England Patriot with a guy by the name of Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones had an offensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, and a defensive touchdown in preseason, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, I think in the NFL side of things, like, you probably could see something like that, I would say, in terms of a player that pulls a Dion, if you will. But then again, like, that's not new. But to a certain extent, like, we've just not seen it in the NFL for a very, very long time. And so, yeah,
it just goes back to just like the absurdness of what Ohtani's doing.
Exactly.
Like, it's otherworldly what he's doing, and it's sad that he plays for the Angels, unfortunately.
Well, that's probably not happening much longer, so we could see him playing some meaningful baseball next season. But two things I'll say. First off, to the NFL point, I don't think we'll ever see an NFL guy to the extent of Ohtani, and this is why. The game is becoming so specialized with what a guy does and the physicality in which you have to play both sides of the ball. I don't think would ever allow a guy to play enough snaps on both sides to have that true impact. Dion was really close, but he played offense. I can't personally, and I know there were, but I can't personally remember a highlight reel of Dion on offense.
And we all know
he scored some touchdowns and things of that nature, but nothing to the extent where you're like, oh, dude, do you remember watching Dion's offensive highlights and his defense? Like, that didn't happen. All Dion's highlights are defense or special teams. And then there's those one or two offensive things. I think about, and this is kind of a crazy name. You guys will appreciate it, though. Mike Vrabel. Arguably Hall of Fame linebacker with the Patriots. I said arguably. I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame, but it's not like he was a bad linebacker by any means. He was a very good linebacker. But he's got, 9 career receptions, and all 9 are touchdowns.
Right.
So very specialized within the 5-yard line to the end zone, and was able to do that. I just don't see it happening in the NFL to the extent that Ohtani's doing it. And like Pinky said, that just goes to show you the absurdity of what Ohtani's doing. Now, I don't know if you guys caught this, but about a month ago, a guy by the name of Dave Winfield, I assume you guys are familiar, Minnesota Twins, New York Yankees, Hall of Fame baseball player, he came out and said, I could have been Ohtani before Ohtani. And the reason he said it actually had a lot of basis behind it. He was like 18-4 with like a 3.0 ERA at the University of Minnesota. And when he got drafted, baseball told him no, pick a side. And so he picked hitting because, that's kind of how you got paid back in the day. And you got more playing time, prolonged careers, arguably. Pinky, that's looking really nice. So Dave Winfield came out and said, I could have done it, but baseball didn't have the vision or the foresight back then to allow somebody to do it. And so it makes you think and wonder, how many guys did baseball pull an NFL and square peg round hole them into not being able to do multiple things because tradition stated that you didn't do that? And even Babe Ruth, started as a pitcher with Boston Red Sox, got traded, pitched with the Yankees before they turned him into just a true slugger and hitter. His whole career wasn't pitching and hitting. That was the very beginning of his career. And then he moved into being just a pure hitter. Ohtani's going to be a hitter and a phenomenal pitcher his entire career. And we've just never seen somebody do it their whole career. So I've always wondered why it doesn't happen more. I've had baseball people tell me I'm stupid. Pinky's heard this conversation come out with some of our baseball friends in the past where I said there's no reason pitchers can't hit. And I was given a multitude of reasons why it's not possible. And I kept telling them, you're not telling me why it's not possible. You're just telling me that that's what baseball does and you have to follow it.
Caleb, I don't think you're wrong by any means. but it's like after high school, most of those guys don't pitch and hit, so they lose some of that skill hitting. So,
well, and not only that, but the most impressive thing with Ohtani and playing baseball and obviously being a pitcher, like one of the things they tell you is also not stress your arm. And so like when you are seeing the kinds of things that Ohtani's doing, that's why it's so impressive, the type of regimen, the type of training that he has to go through in order to be qualified for a Cy Young, if you will, for the American League, and also being qualified for an AL MVP. Like, it's absurd that we are actually having a conversation of a player who is literally that kind of quality, and that is Shohei Ohtani. And so it's just one more time again, like, when you have these conversations, it just further proves how incredible the talent is of Ohtani. And so, yeah, it's a fun conversation, and I'm glad I kind of asked your guys' opinion, about it. But yeah, so we'll see, what becomes of it. But it's a fun conversation. But absolutely, it should always lead to, when you have that conversation, it should always end with, this is why we appreciate a guy like Showtime Ohtani.
Yeah, cheers, Mr. Ohtani. And like I said, we don't talk a lot of baseball until postseason rolls around, and then we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more. But from now until the season ends, I will be talking about Ohtani, because the pace he's at is absolutely absurd. He's got 35 home runs right now, and we've got a solid 2.5 months left of the season. He's batting above 300. His ERA is hovering around 3. He's 12-4, 11-4, somewhere in there, win-loss on a not great team, which is even more impressive that he's getting up wins and keeping a low ERA in the American League. If it was the National League and you're at 3, not quite as impressive, because you've got the DH. Now the DH is universal now, so pinch hitting doesn't really matter. So American League and National League are a lot more even in that regard. But just absurd. Which,
by the way, not to circle back again, and I'm done after this, but like, one of the reasons why I think baseball will have another version of a player who is a pitcher and a hitter is schematically the reason of you now have a universal DH. Like, I actually mean that. Like, so the fact that you have a DH now universally between the American League and the National League allows you to find a guy in the National League, or even in the American League. So Rockies, if that's your next move, literally go find a guy that can pitch in Coors Field and hit
Cam,
about
no, Cam, I thought you knew this. We can talk Nebraska because, I'm good with that. But we universally agree on this show that the Rockies do not get mentioned.
I'm just saying, logistically, it would be amazing. A guy that could pitch in Coors Field, and literally hit like 80 bombs at Coors Field.
Cam, and baseball people hate me for this, but I hate the DH. I absolutely hate the DH. I think pinch hitting should be your only option. And if your pitcher can't hit, then you take him out and you are forced to go with a new pitcher while you let a batter hit. I absolutely hate the DH in baseball. There's a lot of things I don't like in baseball, and baseball people hate me for it. But I digress, and we'll save that for another conversation. Pinky, you got some other quick hitters?
I've got one more quick hitter because we've actually gone pretty long already. Again, go Nuggets. Yeah. I also got my championship towel.
Nice.
Championship towel here. So
please tell me that's not a bear towel.
It's their championship rally towel.
Okay. So want to make sure it's not a bath towel.
No. I wanted to talk about Embiid for a moment.
Yes.
Why?
Embiid's my guy.
Why?
And
he's your guy, really? When did that start?
Well, he's KU. Like, he's a Jayhawk. I know it's only for a season.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I'll let you have that.
Okay, well, first off, can we just point out, Pinky said Joel Embiid is my guy. And that guy is literally wearing a Nikola Jokic jersey right now. So already, whatever he's about to say, take with a grain of salt. Whatever
Pinky's a conundrum, all right. Pinky's a conundrum. He's a matrix. You allow Pinky to roll with how Pinky wants to roll. I've learned that over the years.
Hey, I've got my Jayhawk tattoo. I got my Nuggets tattoo. I am good. Embiid spent a year as a Jayhawk. I like that.
He's crybaby.
He's been a fantastic player in the NBA, but he's had his moments. I did not like him. One, crying about not being an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely didn't like him going out in the playoffs, scoring 15 points, and then throwing his team under the bus.
Okay.
Not taking accountability. He did, and then he ended it with, but it wasn't really me, it was them.
It wasn't even Harden, it was them.
Right. Look, I could have played better, and I know I'm worth more, and I could have done all these things. None of that was really my fault because
you guys suck.
Yeah.
and then his comment the other day was literally, I want to win a championship, whether it's in Philly or
Ray.
Actually, I do have a Mahomes jersey, Ray.
Please tell me it's in the trash. Please tell me it's in the trash.
That's good. I have a Mahomes jersey. I have a Josh Allen. I have a Joe Burrow. I'm going to go to all the stadiums and root for the home team.
From everybody in the league to represent every team in the league. Pinky loves football. Pinky is a true through and through football guy. So, and that's not fantasy talk. That's just Pinky's love of the game and his appreciation. So, for anybody that's not aware, but it is funny that Ray brought that up as we're discussing this.
Ray's keeping receipts. Ray's seen the video. He's keeping receipts. But Embiid talking about winning a championship with the Sixers or anybody else. Wow. Like, really? Like, wow.
Why it's surprising to anyone. Did you see what Morey came out and said today?
I think I did.
We had a conversation. Everything's good. Embiid wants to be here and win a championship. Now, take that with a grain of salt because this is the same dude who put all his chips on James Harden and then burned that bridge to the ground as if it had never even existed because he didn't pay him like they had a wink-wink handshake deal according to James Harden for this offseason.
And not to mention Ben Simmons.
I personally, side note there, I would have kept Ben Simmons and never traded for James Harden. And I would have told Embiid and Doc Rivers to be adults, apologize, suck it up because this guy has crazy talent and potential that we need to unlock. And instead, they broke him to the point where he'll probably never be talented again and ruin that potential. But that's what should have happened, and it will not any longer. So,
I actually heard he did Simmons had a shoot around the other day, and he still can't make a three.
Here's what's crazy. I just watched an interview actually with JJ Redick to go down this Ben Simmons rabbit hole. And JJ Redick said he's worked out with him a number of times and has told Ben Simmons flat out to his face, dude, you're a righty. Quit trying to shoot lefty. You do everything right-handed, literally everything. He listed them off. He goes, he eats, he writes. When he goes to dunk, he jumps off his left foot naturally. That's all right-handed stuff. So why you're trying to all of a sudden shoot left-handed is ridiculous. And JJ said he's not listening to me, which is par for the course from what I can tell with Ben Simmons. He has this need, this complex. The people in his corner backing him are telling him a bunch of bullshit. I don't know what it is, but the potential that kid has and is being wasted is mind-blowing to me. And to take it a step further, I fully believe this, and I know I'm not anywhere close to pro-level basketball, but there is 5% of the league that I could teach how to shoot a proper jump shot, and they would be way more effective than what they are now. And the fact that they're in the NBA and can't shoot at least 80% from the free throw line is disgusting to me, period. And I put a post on our Facebook page, and I got a lot of pushback from it. And it was very clear to me that these are people that have never played the game and have never researched what I was talking about. But there is a guy by the name of Rick Barry who has spoken time and time again that shot underhand free throws for his career and was an excellent free throw shooter because of it. And the fact is, with underhand free throws, there's less mechanics involved, which means there's less room for divergence in your shot, which means there's more consistency available to you. And he said if Shaq had sucked up his ego, dropped his pride, and shot underhand free throws, he could have made Shaq an 80% foul line shooter, which means Shaq would have been the all-time leading scorer, and we would be talking about Shaq as probably the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. So the fact that there is so many egos and pride involved for guys who say they just want to win and are unwilling to do the things that it actually takes to do that infuriates me, plain and simple.
Yeah. What is it? Granny style free throws win every time.
Just win, baby. Win.
If I couldn't shoot 80% from the line, which I was, the free throw line from middle school all the way up to the pros, it's 15 feet out, it's 10 feet up, it's all the same. I was an 80+% free throw shooter. Now I know that changes a little bit when you get into giant arenas and there's nothing behind the backboard but once you can shoot from that distance and you can be consistent about it, you can always be consistent about it. So for guys to be at that level and not be able to shoot at that rate blows my mind, to be perfectly honest with you.
Just ask Ollie from Hoosiers. Dude sucked, hitting layups. But I mean, you ask him to hit a granny style free throw when it matters, when the team actually, and he buries both of them. Dude, Ollie is a legend from the movie Hoosiers.
Just saying. A lot of guys could be making a lot more money if they would just get to the free throw line and Granny Smith it a little bit.
All right, fellas. I think it's that time.
I don't know. I think we got one more week.
It's NFL time. It's NFL.
Well, Cam, you're going to be here with me next week, I do hope, when Pinky isn't here, and we'll get even deeper in on this. But I told Pinky he's going to be gone next week. He's got a concert he's going to. The last couple of weeks, I've been way off right field from where Pinky wants to be discussing sports. I told him we're getting back to the basics for him tonight.
So, hold on. What is the over-under on a Cam Caleb show on how quickly Nebraska is talked about in the show? What's the over-under?
What was it, 421 on this one?
Yeah.
I guarantee you on the intro, Caleb will probably say, "Go Big Red." And I will say, "Go Big Red." So with that, I will say probably, not counting our intro, I will say probably about a minute and a half.
Throw some bones.
Yeah,
little Husker power back and forth.
You know what we should do?
We can go real quick.
You know what we should do? We should, you and me, Caleb, should actually wear Husker attire that day.
Next week, Cam, we'll both. I'm in. Done. Call it good right now. Yeah. That's where we're headed next week.
Yeah. Because then, we don't even have to say anything. It's literally on our attire.
Perfect. Done. Cam, I'm holding you to it next week, my guy.
All right.
I got my hat. I'll wear the Roman Go for 2 shirt, and we'll run with it.
See what you just started
guys.
You brought it up, my guy. We were doing good until you decided to mention it.
It's my fault. It is. All right.
Dion's gonna have a rough week too. Let's just put it that way.
Let's see. Oh, Dion's gonna roll. Let's do
because he doesn't have a foot.
Dion's gonna be on a rascal.
Hold on. They saved the foot. They did save the foot. They didn't have to take it.
Dude, I'm worried for him. I love Dion. I actually think he's going to do really well in Boulder, but I'm worried about him. I do wonder about that leg.
3 years. I've told everybody, 3 years he'll have that program turn around and he's leaving. So Boulder better be excited for 3 years because after that you're heading back to the woodshed.
Well, but but I meant from the leg perspective, is a health side of things. I'm worried about that leg, especially with the blood clots and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
He needs to go talk to Tommy Frazier and see what he did to get that under control, because Tommy managed to save a leg, and they said he probably wouldn't be able to. So, all joking aside, I'm not trying to go Nebraska, Colorado.
No, it's
Frazier, I still believe, is the best quarterback in college history, and that's not me being biased. That's me just pure talent. But we didn't get to see all of it because of those blood clots that took a solid year and a half out of his career.
Yeah. He's speaking the facts. We can all laugh about this
Pinky.
Husker football talk. It's actually up
Honestly,
there. Like
Alfred Williams, I know you love and respect.
mm-hmm.
Alfred Williams said Tommy Frazier was the best player he ever played against in college.
Mm-hmm. I think he said on the drive.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that is not me being biased. That is me getting to celebrate some other things. You know, Nebraska's got some Heisman winners and best teams in the history of the game kind of thing. But Tommy Frazier is a giant what if in sports history, because had he not been injured, man, what we could have seen. But then again, side note, sorry, Pinky, rolling down a rabbit hole a little bit. As a Nebraska fan, and Cam can appreciate this, had Tommy not been injured, we wouldn't have gotten the greatest pure Husker in the history of the program, in my opinion, which is Brook Bellinger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys can read up on his story, but he's this fantastic story, which, by the way, he's also could have been a Bronco. Like, if you actually go look at some of the reports, like the Broncos were like the team that was heavily interested in him.
Pinky, are you familiar with Brook Bellinger at all?
Brooke Behringer.
No, not at all.
Oh my God, why did I say Bellinger? That is so bad.
You know,
I feel like an awful Husker fan now. Oh, that's terrible.
You know what? I'm taking away your Husker fan card.
Statue outside. You should.
Congratulations, Caleb. You've been canceled.
Look, somebody please just allow me a little grace, because I'm zombie walking for the last month. I'm running on like 3 hours of sleep a day. So show me a little grace. I apologize. God, my brother would just cut my balls off if he had heard that.
Thank God he's not listening.
Behringer. I apologize. Oh, I feel so terrible right now.
You know, it's funny though, not to go down again another Husker rabbit hole, but you mentioned about players that could have been successful. We'd also would be remiss if we didn't bring up maybe the other greatest Husker of all time, and I'd be actually probably killed and shot on sight by my dad if I didn't at least say his name, and that'd be Johnny Rodgers. Because Johnny Rodgers was so good in college. He went to the NFL. I think he got injured.
Yep.
And then just the rest was history. And I think if I remember right, it
Heisman winner. We're not just talking about some talent. He's a Heisman winner.
Like may have gone to, I want to say it was the Chargers, and someone with the Chargers, someone really famous with the Chargers or something. I can't remember. Just from what my dad told me, he said like Rodgers was like one of the best running backs that he had seen like in person in practice. So Lawrence Phillips is another one, obviously. I mean, you know, going up and down Husker history. Anyway, Pinky, lead us off with NFL talk. Sorry.
Oh, man. All right.
Miami sucks. What? Did I say something? Did I just say Miami sucks? What?
So the Jets were voluntold they are doing Hard Knocks this week. And the story, again, they did not want to do it at all.
Like, that's a new story. No team wants to do it. They're just vocal about it.
I just cannot wait until we hear the whole public side of what Nathaniel Hackett truly felt, you know, about, being fired by the Denver Broncos. I can't wait for this story, and I can't wait for the very public, behind the scenes of, could Aaron Rodgers have been a Denver Bronco with Nathaniel Hackett in the background? Like, I can't wait for this discussion.
None of that
should have been.
None of that is happening.
Yes,
and
it would.
wanted Russell
Yes.
Wilson instead of Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
Maybe not that conversation, but they will ask about his. They asked it about Vance Joseph. I mean, go back to the Hard Knocks that was during the season in Arizona. Like they actually talked about it. Now, granted, they played the Broncos like that week, so obviously that was content for that week. But like, I guarantee you that will be talked about, especially when they do the whole introductions. They will. I guarantee you it will be talked about.
I think you're wrong, Pinky. Somebody's going to ask, will it make the cut? Will it be on the tape that they show? I don't know, but somebody will ask. And here's the other thing. Did you hear what Nathaniel Hackett has been rumored to have been talked about when it comes to Aaron Rodgers? He's leaving a lot of the play calling up to Aaron Rodgers at the line of scrimmage. So basically, you've got an offensive coordinator who isn't really going to be an offensive coordinator.
And let's keep in mind, this is the New York freaking media. Like,
right.
So the New York media will ask about, so they're going to, and this is also HBO. It's going to happen. They're going to do everything they can to get the side of the story to make it a story, if you will. So
two things. One, I believe that anybody who calls Aaron Rodgers a diva, who says he can't handle the New York media, who says he's washed, is going to be eating a lot of crow this year. Personally, I think he's far from that. I think he's going to thrive in that New York media. I think he's going to have a MVP caliber year. And I think the diva thing, and this could be a topic maybe, Cam, that we talk about next week, or Pinky, if you want to dive into it now. This idea that fans are so steadfast in the team, which means they're with the owner over the players, just blows my mind. I think you can be loyal to the team, but I think you should be more loyal to the players than you are the owners. And people saying that good riddance to Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay, and he wanted out and they should have let him go, and we're so happy he's gone and we don't have to deal with it anymore. Like, shut up. To me, that is the dumbest take you can possibly have, because in no shape, way, or form was Green Bay loyal to that man. And I am 100% pro Aaron Rodgers or any player that gets thrown to the side like that. I get it's a business, but when a player's in his prime and he's giving you his all, and you haven't done the same for him, it blows my mind that anybody would still be the pro team, pro owner side.
I'm kind of pro team, in a sense. So I will say that. Now, does that mean that like frustration and stuff like that will always creep in and you're going to be frustrated? Absolutely. But like, I still think there's a side, like, here I go again, talking about the Rockies, but it's just like I think that, like, for instance, like guys like Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, Carlos Gonzalez, Troy Tulowitzki, like, you can appreciate what
Matt
they
Holliday,
gave.
I saw your post.
Yeah, you can appreciate what they gave to the organization. You can, but at the same time, you can also be a little bit frustrated, with the fact that it never worked out, if you will, or that they never got over the hump. So, I mean, like, there's that side of it for me. It's just like, you can definitely feel the appreciation of what they gave that franchise and wish them nothing but the best in the future with their next franchise. I don't think it's right. I also don't think it's right to bring down a player who brought so much, success and fame to your organization and bring him down. I actually it's the same argument for Russell Wilson as well. Like, there should not be as much hate there as there is for Russell Wilson and with his time in Seattle. Because, like, that's where I'm with you, Caleb, because it's like you should be appreciating with what he did in Seattle and what he brought you out of and truly making Seattle football truly relevant again. And, like, Green Bay, it's like he literally made you a successful franchise and continuing with what Brett Favre built and built it even more. So, I mean, like, you shouldn't be bringing someone like that down. And so you should be appreciating with what it is. And actually, I would imagine there's probably a fair amount of Green Bay fans that do appreciate Aaron Rodgers, right? But at the same time are also really excited to see what Jordan Love can do, but also to say that like you are going to be getting a back-to-back-to-back situation of what was Tim Duncan and David Robinson, to use that comparison. That's highly unlikely. But can Jordan Love be like that serviceable guy that can make Green Bay fans happy and be that successful quarterback? That still will remain to be seen, and that's going to be all on Matt LaFleur. That's truly all going to be on Matt LaFleur. And the mark of him as a really good coach is going to be falling on the success of Jordan Love. So it's just like, but again, like I'm to your point though, truly, like to your point, it's just like you should be appreciating the greatness that happened from that player. And, because look at Nolan Arenado. Nolan Arenado got a lot of crap from a lot of Rockies fans also, with stuff that happened, with their organization and everything. And then he leaves and there's so much, hatred, toward that man when it's like the dude literally won every single Gold Glove, and had the ownerships not gotten their crap together, he would have, yes, and I actually say that he would have been the greatest Rocky of all time, surpassing Todd Helton. He would have, but the fact is the owners didn't do, squat to help him out, or even any other, representative of that lineup. So, there's times where it does fall on the ownership's responsibility in that sense. So I am with you 100% on that.
My least favorite argument that just gets my blood boiling is when I hear people say, you get paid a bunch of money to play a game. Just shut up and go out there and play. Don't ask for trades. You signed a contract. Like, wait, you signed a contract at your job, you're getting paid, and then you left for a better option. There was grass greener and you went and took it. Why do these guys have to live up to something that's any different? You don't like how much they get paid? Stop watching. Stop buying the gear. Don't go to the games. Don't
it's not
turn on
that
the
hard.
TV. Because you are the reason they're getting paid that much. It's called supply and demand, ladies and gentlemen. Capitalism at its finest. They are getting paid their value, and arguably, most athletes are undervalued based on the revenue they generate for said league and said owners. So that argument is so weak to the point that I don't even respond to it, because as soon as somebody brings that up, I'm done. I'm done talking, because I just think you couldn't go any lower in a thought process than that.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, moving on. Have either of you checked out Quarterback on Netflix?
Not yet. I've been too busy playing golf on Tuesday.
I mean, it's been out for almost a week.
I wish that's why I wasn't watching. I'm just not watching because I don't have enough hours in the day to do anything right now.
But my answer to that is yes, I will watch it.
It's fun.
It's fun. It took me a little bit, I'd say about a month, if not a few weeks, to watch Full Swing. But the moment I started watching
haven't
Full
gotten
Swing,
to that either, dang it.
But the moment I started watching Full Swing, I kind of had to binge every single episode as much as I could. So, I will. I mean, I will say though, and not to carry on somewhat of the conversation that we had on 5280 tonight, but it will be interesting if this is a quarterback series. If it's so much success from Omaha Productions, which is obviously Manning's studio, if it is such a success, it would be interesting if you get a little carryover to other positions, because that would help, with, some of the football side of things for people to understand what makes players tick and, certain behind the scenes, which we all know, we certainly love. Because the thing is, we talked about Hard Knocks earlier. It's funny. I actually do enjoy Hard Knocks. I don't enjoy players being on Hard Knocks, but I actually enjoy the Hard Knocks side of things, where you can see the behind the scenes and the way things operate, players, coaches, families. Yeah,
I like Hard Knocks in season; those have been really good. And All or Nothing; those series are better than just Hard Knocks.
I think Hard Knocks run its course. I wish it would go away personally. It's the same thing year in and year out. Find some guy who's not going to make the roster, but it's a great story. Put him front and center for a couple weeks. He gets cut. We'll move on to the stars, so on and so forth. What I'm interested in with this quarterback driven, Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and who's the other one?
Marcus Mariota.
Probably Desmond Ritter too, if in that conversation. Probably some too.
No, not at all.
What I'm interested to know is, does this show help change the narrative with Cousins? Because here's what I believe about Cousins. He and the Vikings, I know it's a long shot, so don't take this like I think I'm picking them this year or anything like that. But if they somehow won a championship, I do believe the narrative on Kirk Cousins instantly changes and he instantly becomes a Hall of Famer. Not necessarily first ballot, but I believe he instantly becomes a Hall of Famer. I believe Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. In Pinky's words, he would be in the Hall of really good, not the Hall of Fame. And I think the narrative around him of he can't win on Monday nights, he struggles in the playoffs, things of this nature.
Primetime Cousins some of that's, is a real thing.
Look, I'm not going to say some of it's not true. Some of it is justified by the numbers he puts up. But at the same time, when you go back and look at where that narrative comes from and some of those games, schematically, they were out-coached. The teams they were playing on a lot of those games were just better teams. So, game and quarterbacks, yes, they get the blame and they get the fault. But when you go back and look at it again and see what happens, Kirk Cousins, in my mind, is a better quarterback than Eli Manning. But Eli Manning will get in the Hall of Fame. And I believe personally, I know this is a little ridiculous, but I believe personally he's a first ballot Hall of Famer because what he did in the playoffs, he's got 2 Super Bowls. And one of those Super Bowls is beating arguably the greatest team in NFL history.
Both Super Bowls.
Well, he beat Brady in both Super Bowls. One of them, though, was the greatest team, arguably, because they would have been 19-0. Yeah. So for those reasons, and anybody that has listened to me or follows us on Facebook knows, I put a lot more weight on what you do in the postseason than I do the regular season. I think Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer because of what he did in the playoffs.
Is Joe Flacco Hall of Famer?
No, and this is why. Joe Flacco had one really good playoff run. Every time he was in the playoffs, it was good. Julian Edelman, every time he was in the playoffs, went to a different level. Eli Manning, every time he got to the playoffs, different level of Eli Manning. Joe Flacco did that once. Now, I will say, if you look at Joe Flacco just from a postseason perspective, Joe Flacco's a Hall of Famer. A lot of it is because of that one playoff run. But his numbers in the playoffs are really good.
It's ridiculous.
But also look at career. Joe Flacco regular season keeps him out of the playoffs definitively. So I kind of ride the fence on that a little bit, and I'll take that criticism. But there is a fine line when you look at it. But I do put much more weight on what you do when the lights are the brightest than I do just simply what you did throughout your career in the regular season.
That's fair. And I do think that we might see a little bit of a shift with Cousins, and I've not actually seen the series though, just to be sure, but I do know of people that have actually seen the series that were a bit sour on him and actually have started to warm up now, to Kirk Cousins. And
it's awesome.
So it's definitely going to be interesting to see stuff like that happen. And I think what would also be cool is if this particular show series on Netflix actually has success, which I'd imagine it will, it's going to open up a lot of doors for other quarterbacks in the NFL. Like for instance, like what would be really nice is if, say, my guess is it would be this particular season, right? But like if you were to say go into the mind and choosing Tua Tagovailoa, like if you were to choose him to kind of go and do a little bit of a backstory about everything that happened in the season prior, and so like I think it opens up a lot of doors and possibilities for, something that is like you get the opportunity to not just pick the brain of, Cousins, Mahomes, and Marcus Mariota, but this idea of other quarterbacks that are in the NFL, people that
So
may be out of a job, maybe. And I say this, but Russell Wilson would be one, right? Like, get the idea of like picking through like Russell Wilson, or getting the idea of like maybe even going to Derek Carr, like the fact that this was Derek Carr's first season with the New Orleans Saints, but he's coming from the Raiders. So what would that perspective be? So it's just so yeah, it would just be really a fun dynamic if they were.
Season 2 just got greenlit today.
Okay.
So that's so they will have.
Now it's Netflix, so it could be canceled tomorrow. But hopefully they go through with it.
Omaha, baby, Omaha, it's going, it's happening.
That brings a lot of weight. Where are you at with since you're the only one that's watched it so far, Pinky? How are you feeling?
It's fun, man. It's a good show. You get to see behind the scenes Mahomes. I didn't realize that dude cussed that much, bro. Like, he is F this, F that all the time.
Brady's the same behind closed doors kind of thing, so it does open up a perspective. I heard, and you have to tell me about this, Pinky. I have read on social media that Mrs. Mahomes is actually gaining a lot of followers and lessening her hate because of the show.
I don't know about that. She's still kind of annoying. She already had a lot of followers regardless. I do enjoy, like, you see his brother, but his brother's not talking much. Like, they did a good job of making sure that he was not a focal point of the show.
They shouldn't even show him. They should just blur his ass out when he comes on camera. He's
literally, like, you can see him. He just doesn't say a lot. Like, they did a good job there.
Nothing will change my opinion of Mahomes. The whole
Kirk Cousins is good. He's really good. His house is dope. He's got a big backyard with a fire.
The one he just finished with the golf course and the basketball and pool.
Well, that's Mahomes.
That one? Oh,
that's
you're talking
Mahomes.
about Cousins. My bad. Okay.
Yeah. So they do a walkthrough of the home before it's done, and he's talking about everything, and it sounds dope. It looks great.
Like an episode of Cribs.
Yeah. I like Mahomes being more real. Like, they definitely like focused on, like, there was a game with the Raiders and Max Crosby was being a dick, and they focused on that, and it was awesome. Just like his reactions to Crosby and all that. It's fun. Marcus Mariota is definitely the lamest of the group, just because he's the older guy. He left the team. It's kind of a weird situation. But it's a good show. If you're a football person, you'll like that show.
All right.
I will jot it down in my notes and not watch it.
Damn it, Cam. All right. All right. One of the topics I want to talk about is this Mike McCarthy's last ride. Is he a dead man walking?
Is this like an on-the-spot question?
Mm-hmm.
No. My gut tells me no, because Jerry has proven he's too loyal. And what's funny is it's not really loyal, it's pride that gets in his way. And he picked a guy, so he has to follow it through until it's 6 feet under. So my gut says no. McCarthy will get a leash that's 1 trillion miles long, regardless of what happens this season.
The only reason why, and I agree with you, Caleb, the only reason why I think that it pours cold water on that is this idea that they gave Dan Quinn that extension. And so because they gave Dan Quinn that extension, at least opens up that avenue that if they were to move on from McCarthy, Dan Quinn would very logically be the successor for McCarthy. So maybe to be a little bit of a contrarian, I will actually say yes. But, because the other thing too is like, this is a very pivotal season for the Cowboys. Like, this is a big season for the Cowboys. It's a big season for them. It's a big season for Dak. It's a big season for nearly every single person that's in there. And because they are a very good team. Like, they are a good team. And with them being America's team, you just don't know. You just don't know what sort of media frenzy is going to, start after this. What players are going to be asking for trades, what players are going to be, wanting to, leave. Like, is CeeDee Lamb going to be, very frustrated with another, season with Dak Prescott, or, so I don't know. But it's hard for me to see that, but to be a contrarian, I will say yes.
So I think he is a dead man walking, in my opinion.
Ooh.
He's the one. He let Kellen Moore walk, which, again, I could see that happening. He's going to call the plays. He's going to run the football. But he's going to run the football with Tony Pollard. That's it.
And who else? You can't
Nobody.
just
Rojo.
run. Yeah,
I
so
still believe Rojo breaks out this year. I still believe it. And God, I've been on that ride way too long, and I should have gotten off by now. But I still believe Rojo sees a lot of playing time this year.
I can't see it, man. If Rojo couldn't crack the Kansas City Chiefs, Pacheco was fun, but he wasn't like. I think Rojo's technically better than Pacheco, and Rojo couldn't even get on the field.
I can't explain that one. I really thought he was going to go off last year in that offense, but I think that team, the way that McCarthy wants to supposedly run the offense, I think it actually sets up perfectly for Rojo to have. And I'm not talking like 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. I'm thinking more along the lines of like 700 yards and 5 touchdowns. So don't when I say go off, don't take it the wrong way. I just think he's going to get meaningful snaps because Tony Pollard's not a 3-down back. And I think Dallas knows that. I think they're allowing the hype to be built up because Jerry loves people talking about the boys. But Pollard is not a 3-down back. He's just not. And somebody's got to come in and run on first and second down or spell him from time to time.
It's not crazy to think Zeke comes back. It's not.
It is crazy.
Yeah, I can't see that in any shape, way, or form. Yeah, I just can't see it. Yeah, I don't think McCarthy wants anything to do with him. He's Jerry's godson, if you will. But I can't see McCarthy wanting him there. And if McCarthy's really – look, McCarthy was allowed to make a call and let Kellen Moore go and came out and said, I don't want to be the highest scoring offense. I want to be a running offense, which I still can't believe those words came out of his mouth. You're telling me you can score a lot of points and not win games? That's not an offensive coordinator issue. That's a head coaching schematic issue.
Well, one of the things I think that Dallas did do really well was the trade for Brandon Cooks because they needed someone to be that Robin to Lamb. And
it's not Gallup.
And I mean, I like Gallup, and I really liked him coming out of Colorado State. But the thing was, it was like it's the Tim Patrick argument. Like he's really, really a solid wide receiver, but there isn't anything a Cortland Sutton flashy or a Jerry Jeudy flashy about him, that would make him a wide receiver one, right? But but he's a great wide receiver. He's just not necessarily those types of wide receivers that is a recognizable wide receiver too.
And in his defense, he's coming off a torn ACL. Usually it takes the guys a year removed for that to be back to themselves. So we could see Gallup break out more than Cooks this year, possibly.
But I
agree. Cooks was a great signing.
But Cooks was a really smart trade for them, to really make that move. And I do think that actually will benefit for them because, if you think about it, that is actually a wide receiver room that they've really needed to upgrade. I mean, they had some decent, potential pieces that was in that, but they really needed to bring a Robin to that, that field, if you will. And Brandon Cooks does that. And let's be perfectly blunt. He is a very good wide receiver. He's been on numerous teams, but he is a very, very good wide receiver. You don't need to look.
He's like just barely not a wide receiver one, and that's what's hurt him his whole career.
Except for New England.
Look, New England, in my personal opinion, Bill Belichick doesn't know what he has when it comes to true weapons. Randy Moss fell in his lap, and beyond Randy Moss, what true weapons has New England had other than Gronk? He was a wide receiver one in New England, but Belichick didn't want to pay him as a wide receiver one, so he left. I'm surprised he didn't stay. But again, I think that was more to do with he's not quite a wide receiver one, and they didn't want to pay him as such, which is what he wanted, and so he was allowed to move on from there. But I really like Brandon Cooks. I'm with you. I think he is a phenomenal talent, and I think he's going to be a huge get for the Cowboys.
Yeah. But so what else is since Pinky left us to go put on his Mahomes jersey, what else do you have to talk about for the NFL?
I've got it. The 5280 podcast.
Okay. You're still there. Well, before you move on, Pinky, how are you feeling about the boys? Where are you at in this whole situation?
I think McCarthy's getting fired, bro. They're not going to meet.
So, what does he have to do to not get fired in your mind?
They're going to have to make the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, or he's gone? That's where you're at?
Super Bowl. And I don't think they're beating the 49ers with Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy. And I don't think they're beating the Eagles. So, I mean, that's just it. He's a dead man walking. That's my opinion. He went out and said, Kellen Moore he is not good enough to let us win. So he put it on himself. He took that. He had a fall guy. I can blame Kellen Moore. He doesn't have a fall guy anymore. It's on him.
Kellen Moore was Jerry's guy, apparently, by all accounts, and Jerry allowed that move to happen. So you really think Jerry's going to – but doesn't that look bad on Jerry then if he gets rid of McCarthy? You think Jerry has it in him to actually make that call?
No, because Jerry can say, you said it was Kellen Moore's fault. It wasn't Kellen Moore's fault. It was your fault. You suck, which he does. So I think McCarthy's a fall guy. It's going to happen.
But Jerry hired him in the first place. I find it hard that Jerry would finally.
We know was a mistake. We know that was a mistake for the beginning.
Jerry's going to admit he made a mistake?
Jerry will never admit that. He's going to blame it on McCarthy. But we all know if you're a good coach, you get more than one Super Bowl out of Aaron Rodgers. Period. We knew McCarthy.
This is going to sound crazy, and I'm not a McCarthy guy, but I personally believe that's more on the organization than it is on McCarthy.
He does make some pretty dumb decisions, though, in game.
He does. I'm not going to say he doesn't, but that organization has proved time and time again with the leadership in place currently that they have no effing clue what they're doing. And this is what I've said time and time again with the Packers is that they are always trying to build for the future while sacrificing the present.
Right.
Which is why they're always good but not great.
All right.
What else?
Going back to running backs, which again, we don't have to go very long because the 5280 podcast talked about it.
Good podcast, by the way.
It was pretty good tonight. It absolutely was. I do like Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean was on the podcast. That was awesome.
Yeah, I like when he puts his glasses on his head and it looks like he has 4 eyes.
It's so good. So good. Running backs, the devaluation of running backs. I'm just shocked. I'm not shocked by Pollard not getting a deal. I'm not. You're on the franchise tag. You're going to pay for $10 million. That's an upgrade for you. I'm fine with that.
I'm on the middle on that one. He deserved a payday. He got it with the franchise. He deserved. No, he did. If you look at the Cowboys though, and you knew exactly who was the person that they should pay versus he and Ezekiel Elliott, it was Tony Pollard all the way. So
I mean, I'll agree with that. But out of the three that Pinky's about to mention, I will say Pollard's the easiest one to replace through the draft.
that's fair. But I think in terms of just the Cowboys in contract, I think there's obviously not the Saquon Barkley, probably asking price or whatever, but it's just like they probably could have at least come to some sort of deal, and maybe that's just Pollard being way too greedy for his own money, and just being like, hey, I want way more than what that franchise tag is asking.
I think a good agent could have got him a fair contract with the Cowboys.
It's hard to say because with the under depreciation and the devalue of the running back position, it's hard to say. And maybe that's why, because you have a franchise tag that just fits right in line with the right money, if you will, a 1-year deal, a $10 million deal, if you will. It just fits right in line with, probably with what a team wants to pay a running back right now. It just sucks.
I've always agreed that they should have never paid Zeke. They should have upgraded Pollard, but Pollard has never been a guy to me that says you're that elite level running back. You're somebody who needs to stick around. To me, he has always been replaceable, and it just looked like he should be more because Zeke was on such a huge decline. So I've never been high on Pollard. I think he's a dime a dozen, and I hate saying that because I think he's talented. But if there ever were a case for replaceable through the draft and the devaluation of the running back, I think Pollard is an example. I don't think Josh Jacobs is a surprise because look who the head coach is and look where he came from. New England's never paid running backs. They interchange them every single year. Josh McDaniels thinks he's some kind of genius, and he's going to continue to do that, whether it's right or wrong. And they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, which would have been a smart move, and they didn't. And then he had his best year of his career. So them not paying Jacobs doesn't surprise me. The Giants, though, and we've talked about this many times, Pinky, the Giants screwed up. They should have given Saquon what he wanted. They should have franchised Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones should have been, and I'm a Daniel Jones guy. I think he's going to continue to improve under Daboll. But they should have franchised Daniel Jones and had him do another prove-it year to say, yes, I can continue to grow and improve under this head coach. And they should have franchised him, and they should have paid Saquon and kicked that can down the road a little bit more, and they didn't. And now they're going to suffer for it because they don't have anybody else behind Saquon that's going to be even remotely close to serviceable. And if Saquon doesn't play or he holds out or whatever it may be, they're in a world of hurt, and you're going to the detriment of Daniel Jones, regress.
Yeah, to piggy off of the Josh Jacobs thing, it's like I definitely am not shocked that they didn't pay him because of the organization. I'm just surprised that he actually did not get a deal because he should have gotten a deal. So it's more along the lines of that, so he should have gotten a deal. But it is funny. There is a fair argument to be made that like a lot of the volume for Jacobs happens to come against the Broncos because like in terms of success. That said, though, based on the year that he had last year, that was a great year. And so he definitely deserved the tag. And it seems like at least within the last couple of years, he's a back that's gotten better and better and better. Well, the one thing with Barkley, though, is you're also talking about a player, and with the devaluing of the running back position of where it's so weird, you're talking about a player in Saquon Barkley who is also clearly shown to be a much more valuable asset in the passing game along with the running game. So it's one of those things like, I mean, there's that argument where like he is your best offensive player. I mean, like for the New York Giants, he is your best offensive player. Daniel Jones is a player that is, he may be a good quarterback. He may be the Eli Manning of the New York Giants as he gets better and better and better. But like, he's not going to be the face of the franchise if they decide to make the decision to pay Saquon Barkley and do nothing but feed Saquon Barkley. Now, granted, the one thing that is a detriment for Barkley is his injuries. He does have a injury history, and so it's just if
easy, Cam. He
He
doesn't have a
does.
history. He had 1 year, and then because hang on, he never had a history of injuries coming into the NFL. He had a major injury, came back, and what's very common is then has another injury because of that, because you're favoring a side of the body. One's weaker than the other. You're not quite prepared. I don't believe he has a history of injury, but I will agree that the injury cost him his deal.
But the thing is like if it continues, regardless of the fact he had no injuries in college, which is impressive at Penn State and the amount of volumes that he had at Penn State,
or his first year as a rookie.
But it's just like if injuries start to happen in the NFL, like think of Randy Gregory, Caleb. Like Randy Gregory wasn't a injury riddled player in Nebraska, but like, you know, when he got to the pros, obviously there was the off the field stuff, but like he did sustain some injuries at the NFL level, and then it became he's just injury riddled over time because of his availability. Because we all know your best ability is availability.
I got two things. Jacobs absolutely earned a contract. He's been available. He's been great for the Raiders. He's been like when the Raiders run the football well, which normally Jacobs is the guy running the ball, they win games. So having him upset, not on the team, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Oh,
for Saquon,
yeah.
Saquon's had injury history after year 1 in the NFL. He's a big risk reward. If Saquon is not hurt, that dude is the number 1 running back in the league. In my opinion.
I don't know.
Not hurt. He is the number 1 running back in the league.
So if he doesn't get hurt this year, he's got to play. I guess that's another big what if. But if he plays and he doesn't get hurt, does he shed the injury history persona, if you will?
He deserves a contract. I'll just say that. He deserves the contract. The question
it just depends on when he plays. Does he come back week 1? Does he come back week 10? I think 10 is the requirement to get a full season. Like, what is he willing to do?
But the question, it would be his performance too. Like, say he comes back and he just shreds, then undoubtedly he deserves a contract. You know, and at that point you're having the conversation of not just what he did from week 10 to week, to the end of the season.
18.
Right. So you're talking about not just that, but also with what he can offer as a player and everything that he's provided to the Giants. You know, as far as versatility. So, then you are absolutely having this conversation about, his value to a team. And because, think about it, like just based on his versatility, you put him in San Francisco, or better yet, you put him in Miami, because we all know Miami may need a back like that, and if they ever get a back like that, like a Saquon Barkley, it's good night. I don't care who the quarterback is. The moment you give Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, who's retiring in 2 years, that type of firepower with his versatility out of the backfield, and Miami of a no state tax with it being in Florida, good night, nurse.
Does Dalvin Cook willing to take a haircut to go prove himself on 1-year deal with Miami? Because that's a very real consideration, and if he stays healthy. Now, there's a guy who has an injury history, in my opinion. Barkley does not. Dalvin Cook does. But if
Barkley's got more injuries than Dalvin.
No. Barkley's missed more time than Dalvin, but Dalvin is more injury history. Dalvin Cook is notoriously nicked up consistently. He's got issues. Barkley had a major injury, which is no different. You wouldn't call Terrell Davis injury history, but he had a major injury that cost him his career. Barkley had a major injury that he has come back from, which then led to, which is very common, another injury. He had a full season last year without any issue. He's not known to be nicked up he had major injuries. Dalvin Cook is notoriously known to be nicked up, missing multiple games per year. He hasn't missed more games than Barkley, but he's known to miss multiple games per year because of injury. So to me, that's the definition of injury history for me. Now, I know that's not everybody's, but that's where I look at things.
It's fair. I mean, so I think it'll be interesting to see.
Saquon has missed more games than Dalvin Cook, by the way.
I said that. I openly said that and admitted it.
I think you're wrong, bro. I'm sorry. You're wrong.
No. Maybe you're not understanding the nuance of the argument, Pinky. There's a difference between injury history for me. Injury history to me is somebody who's continuously having issues. Dalvin Cook, year in and year out since he's come into the league, has had issues that have cost him games. Whether it's a major injury or not, that's not my defining factor. Barkley missed more games because he tore an ACL. ACL is going to keep you out for a minimum of a year. That just is what it is. Dalvin Cook has ankle history. He's got torn shoulder. He's got knee problems. He has, year in and year out since he came into the league, missed multiple games per year. I think he's averaging like 13 or 14 games a year since he's been in the league because of injury. That's injury history.
It is a fair argument. I think you may be onto something though, Caleb, because it's like, if you think of like if a player, we'll see to spin it to the Broncos for a second, we'll see what happens with Javonte Williams. But it's like the ACL, MCL, like that's a significant injury. That's his first significant injury. But like, if he is not the same back, he's not injured, and say he doesn't get injured, he's not the same back. He's just not been the same since his injury. Now, if he embraces more of a workload and he has a very different injury, like say he, breaks his elbow or something, and he's out for the season, and he can't, be out there, then that may end up, entering the category of he is definitely got that injury history. Because, you're talking about a player that sustained the ACL and MCL, but he also has the broken arm now. So it's just
Here's a question. Is Christian McCaffrey injury history?
Yes.
I'm going to say no. Say no because he had a major injury that cost him time, which then coming back caused another injury. He played all 17 games last season, did he not? And the first 3 years in the league, he played every single game, I do believe. But he had a 2-year span where a major injury came back the following year, caused another injury because of said issue that causes a weakness that can be prevalent, which is common when you have major injuries. If Christian McCaffrey has an injury this year and can't play the full season, then I will say there's an injury history. But he came back from the major injuries to play a full season last year, just like Saquon did. Dalvin Cook hasn't done that. Dalvin Cook hasn't played a full season in the league.
So
that's where I see a fine line between them.
That's wrong. He played all 17 games this year.
Dalvin Cook did.
I
looked it up. He played all 17 games this year.
I know, but all before that he did not, is what I'm saying.
So then let me see, does Von Miller have injury history?
Yes.
I would say no. I would say no because he came off a major injury.
I don't understand. Like, that just it is part of the equation. Yes, he had a major injury, but that's caused him to have other issues.
But Vaughn wasn't known to be nicked up before that major injury. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
But it is what it is. Like, that's it. Like,
but one major injury doesn't make you have an injury history. That's what I'm trying to get at here.
The reason why I bring up Von Miller is the argument of Christian McCaffrey, because I think at one point there was probably a moment where I probably felt like Christian McCaffrey was, had injury history. But everybody and their mother knew the impact that he had on the football field, which may be the Saquon Barkley argument, because of everything that they offer on the football field, and so I think that, and it's the argument for Von Miller. It's like, he had, a few injuries here and there, but everybody knew the moment he stepped foot on the football field, he was the Batman of that entire defense. And so, so the moment that he got there, he's never changed exactly, who he is on the field, and who he is as a dominant player. So maybe not. Obviously, to me, Von Miller didn't have injury history, so I think it's maybe you changed my opinion, Caleb. Like maybe you did, like in terms of players, because like if you look at it from, and maybe it's minor injuries, but like minor injuries shouldn't take away from the major injury. And if he's had one major injury, then I wouldn't necessarily call it injury history.
Pinky, on this topic, kind of staying in the topic, but
staying
going
in his lane.
Down the same road, but I'm just kind of moving over.
He's changing lanes.
I
saw his blinker.
Quarterback with the running back situation the way it is, and I sent you a picture. I don't know if you can get that up here because we'll bring it up in a second. But if we can't, I can go down that road and just kind of verbally talk about it. But I think we are witnessing, if the NFL doesn't correct this within the next year, literally, they have a year to correct this. By next season, this needs to be corrected. Or I believe we are witnessing such a drastic downfall of a position that I believe you will start seeing a wasteland when it comes to the running back position in the future. And what I mean by that is players in high school going into college into the pros are going to see what the running back position is valued as, and the athletes at that position will move to wide receiver, or they'll move to tight end if they're big enough. And they will completely leave that running back position to the point where in the next 5-6 years, we will not see a running back that is seen as a franchise player, that is seen as a true talent, because they will have all left that position because of what the NFL is doing right now. And I believe we are very much on that path. And I believe if it is not corrected very quickly, we're about to see an epic change that could alter the entire landscape of the way the game of football is played.
I mean, how do you?
And I say that being a guy who, while I may talk about, the way I talk about defense and things of that nature, you may think that I'm all flashy kind of guy, but really at my roots, I am a trenches guy and a running game guy. And if I had my choice, I would build my team from the inside out, from the lines out, from the running back position, and running it down your throats. And a lot of that might be because I was raised on Nebraska football, and I will openly admit that bias, and I have no problem admitting that. But I believe that's how you truly win. And a graphic that I sent Pinky, if we can get it up, if we can, I'll go down it in a moment here. I believe we're seeing something that is an anomaly, not a trend.
Yeah, and we talked about it on 5280, and I think that in the overall landscape of the running back position, it will be interesting because schematically you'd have to kind of go through a whole different system, for not having a running back. And to a certain extent, I guess you could say it's almost going backwards. It was sort of the tailback position, halfback position, but they kind of went by much different positions, right, Caleb? I mean, like the Nebraska offense, like it went from like wing back and and like tailback, if you will, or just like crazy names. But
fullback, even the fullback that's now died out in the NFL. I think that could have been the beginning of the end that nobody truly recognized at the time.
But I mean, like offenses could be going to a halfback or running backless offense. But again, we're talking about a major schematic change, to that. And so like, to where you'd have almost like a quarterback under center with no halfback, right? And which has happened before in some, plays and so on and so forth. But like, you're still talking about a massive schematic change. I don't see that in the future. But if nothing, if we are on the current track that we are on, you are going to see a lot of running backs obviously voice their displeasure, but not just that, but like the younger generation, the newer generation view it in a sense of like, okay, we really do have to look at this a little bit differently. Like high school athletes, if you are a pure athlete, and even if you're a college, football athlete, a recruit or a college football coach, like if you're Matt Rule, if you're Deion Sanders, if you're, Brian Dable, if you're any of these coaches, and you're looking at these athletes, you're looking at them strictly like truly the way that they are athlete. Are we going to put them at defensive back? Are we going to put them at wide receiver? Are we going to put them at, any of these different positions that just require athleticism? So a lot of it will change.
I got the graphic up. It doesn't show up real large. It basically shows.
Throw it up there, and I can talk to it real quick.
I mean,
I've got it on. Your thoughts.
I've got it on there. It's just, it's basically like no Super Bowl winner.
Well, we can't see it.
I mean, we can, but I shared it to the thing. So,
change the thing at the bottom so you show your screen.
Oh, sorry. I got to add it to the screen.
There you go. There you go.
But it's really small.
What it's showing is the last 9 championship winners. Starting back in 2014, Patriots, Stephen Ridley. Broncos 15, C.J. Anderson. 16-17, LeGarrette Blount with Tampa Bay. 2018, Sony Michel. Who is that with? Patriots again, right?
No, Patriots. Yeah, Patriots. Yeah.
LeGarrette Blount, Patriots. Sony Michel, Patriots. Damian Williams, Chiefs. Leonard Fournette, Tampa Bay. Cam Akers with the Rams. Isaiah Pacheco with the Chiefs. What this is trying to show is you don't need a star running back to win a championship. They're paying them minimum salaries. These guys are not major parts of the offense. You just need a decent run game, not a solid run game. I believe this is an anomaly, not a trend. However, I believe the NFL is looking at it as a trend, not an anomaly. And I think that is a serious problem within the NFL.
I mean, 9 years is a pretty good amount of data, though.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Normally, you see something for 9 years, you go, that is definitely a trend, not an anomaly. I personally believe that, but it's hard to argue against it with 9 years of data. I won't deny that at all.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably end up looking at the running back position, and you're right, and also you're talking about a position that is easily replaced. Because like we're talking about people that are in the 7th round. Isaiah Pacheco was one of them. I mean, like they can find guys. I mean, Philip Lindsay was an undrafted free agent. C.J. Anderson was undrafted. I mean, to use some Broncos names. I mean, like you can be able to find some guys that could be successful in this league. So it's going to be – I'm really curious to see what happens here because I made the comparison. It's almost like a new car. Like the moment you buy a new car and it hits the road, it depreciates in value the moment it hits a road, right? That's exactly the thing with almost a running – and, I mean, I think there's a fair argument to be made for like any of the other players that step foot on a football field. Like you feel like, it's almost depreciating in value. It's just about your overall performance, right? And so I think, for a running back, it's just the moment they step foot on a field, especially like they are depreciating in value because they know that their moment could be gone tomorrow, knowing the fact that they could bring in another running back to replace them. And it's pretty easy. So
it's wild. Where's Bijan Robinson in 4 years when his rookie deal expires?
Yeah, who knows? And a lot of people are saying that he's Adrian Peterson 2.0 or, some of these great backs. I love Bijan Robinson, but, who knows what he's going to be, after his contract is up or after the 5 years is up, with Atlanta, the player option. And Pinky has a Mahomes jersey.
That's true. For Bijan, though, he got drafted in the top 10. That dude's getting paid some money up front.
Well, but he's
got the most money this year out of any running back.
Right.
But he should perform. Like if you're drafting a running back that high, which is hardly ever happened anymore, he should go out and perform, right? I mean, that's the expectation.
Mm-hmm. So what are you thinking on all of this, Pinky?
I don't know how you fix the situation. If you've watched a Raiders game, Jacobs is the heart and soul of that team, offensive wise. He's the only reason why they win games. If you watch, like, the Giants are horrible when Saquon Barkley is hurt. Like, the running back position matters. You can't tell me this season the Chargers make the playoffs if Austin Eckler is not on their team. With all the injuries they had at wide receiver and Justin Herbert not, like, being hurt, can't throw the ball. If Eckler was not on their team, they don't make the playoffs.
I think it's interesting because, like, Eckler's an interesting one because I definitely think he's one where you put him in, say, like a Sean Payton type of system. I think you might see his, the same amount of volume that he's had the last few years under Lombardi, mind you, like under Joe Lombardi, because that's where you saw his production, really skyrocket. However, we're talking about Justin Herbert and with weapons, like a Quentin Johnson now, but a Keenan Allen and a Mike Williams, and so they have weapons. And I think that the fact is like you look at it from that perspective and the way that they can be able to distribute the football, not just to Eckler, but to some of those other weapons. It kind of ruins a little bit of the Eckler argument because I think that they can be successful without Eckler. It's just the question is that's more of a what if situation than it is.
I mean, but they have two guys that struggle staying healthy at this point. So
they absolutely do. So here's a question for both of you. I believe crapshoot because it's the Chiefs offense, but I believe Pacheco goes for roughly 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns this year. If that were to happen, he's no longer some kind of plug-and-play guy. He's a steal in the 7th round. He's a huge talent. He will be part of the reason they repeat. He's a phenomenal running back. But would the Chiefs pay him? Would they keep him? Or would they plug and play again because they found him in the 7th round? Does he deserve to get paid? They repeat with him putting up those numbers. He's going to be part of the reason they repeat. That changes that 9-year history. So how would you guys feel if that happened? And then what do you think would go forward in the future?
Go ahead, Pinky.
They're not going to pay a running back. They're not going to pay a running back. They've got money in Mahomes, which they still have to talk about a new deal for him. They've got money elsewhere. They're not paying a running back. That's just not going to happen.
Okay, I understand that.
I need to reject.
But if he goes for those numbers and they win a championship, that force people to change the conversation or at least rethink it.
Cam, I never said that, Cam. I never said that. I'm not going to let this guy on anymore. I'm going to just leave him in the green room from now on. This guy.
Oh, golly, jeez. Seriously, I understand where you're coming from. Chiefs aren't paying a running back. I'm not going to disagree with you. But if he does that and they win a championship again, he will be a reason why, a major reason why. So does that force people to then start rethinking the conversation, or do they say they found him in the 7th round, he was really good, but why pay him again when you can find somebody else in the 7th round? Like, it's not that easy to find a running back that's elite, regardless of what round you find them in. That's a rare commodity.
But Pacheco's not elite.
Well,
12 and 10 though, wouldn't you start putting him in that category?
Elite. He's think not nowhere on the level.
Well, I think
I know he's not now. If he goes for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, though, he starts becoming in that conversation. Would he not?
Well, again, I'm kind of with Caleb though. But we're talking about a system that is obviously very quarterback friendly, but they've never had a 1,000-yard rusher, really since Jamal Charles. So if Pacheco goes off,
they had Kareem Hunt. Hunt.
But Kareem still,
Hunt led the league in rushing.
But if they go out, but with the offense that it is currently constructed, and they go out and they put forth 1,200, 1,300 yard rusher, like for Pacheco. That's not just a, and plus with the whole,
they have the best. Hold on. They have the best 3 interior linemen that you can have.
that doesn't,
They
sure, but
have,
like, sure.
Creed Humphrey at center. They have Joe Thuney at guard, and they have Trace Smith at guard. Those dudes can like pave the way for a 1,000-yard rush.
Oh, sure, but like if we're using offensive lineman argument, then then that's going to be damaging for say like a Terrell Davis then, because Terrell Davis ran behind one of the greatest offensive lines of all time, right? If you're going to be using an offensive line argument that, because
but Terrell Davis didn't go for 1,000 yards. He went for 2,000. He went for 1,700.
Sure.
You're not going to have a 2,000 yard
I
rusher
agree
in
if
that
he only
system,
goes for
though.
1,000. That's the O-line.
Different offense, though, to compare those two situations, Pinky. If Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid has not had a 1,000-yard rusher.
Pacheco could go for 1,000 yards. He can go for 1,200. He can go for 10 touchdowns. He's still not a great running back by that means. That O-line is really good.
What you're saying is you can plug and play anybody in that offense, and they're going to do what Pacheco does, if that were the case. And that has not been proven true.
The only argument against Pacheco and everything is just because of the fact it's a system. Kansas City is a system. So if you put, say, someone else, to the likes of that into, like a Dalvin Cook for that matter, into that system, it's possible that he would offer nearly the exact same type of success, if not more, in that offense because it's the system. Now, but if Pacheco can consistently do that on a relatively successful basis, then he is a very, very good running back. And it wouldn't, and obviously we would be talking about one season, but that's a very impressive season in a offense that is, it's running back friendly, but it's more running back friendly out of the backfield. But also Pacheco, he is more than capable about doing that. Like like he's a very hard running back. Like, Rutgers, certainly gets a lot of crap in the Big Ten, but like he was a hard running back. They can still be able to turn out talent from Rutgers, and he was one of their better players on that team. And he was able to be a physical downhill runner where, he's basically anybody that wants to, give praise to Javonte Williams, and rightfully so, should be giving also praise to Isaiah Pacheco because of the way he runs and being that physical presence, being that downhill runner.
So if Javonte Williams comes back this year, let's say he is healthy, he goes Adrian Peterson and doesn't need that gap year before he's back to himself, and Javonte Williams runs for 12-10, Pinky, I already know you think he's an elite running back. I already know you think he's super talented. But wouldn't you then have to say the same thing about Javonte? He's running behind an insanely good offensive line. Did we lose Pinky? What's going on here?
The Pinky and the brain. The Pinky and the brain. The Pinky and the brain.
Yeah, I got no idea what's going on.
Can you hear me? Pinky, leave and come back in. Leave and come back in.
Barely. My signal must be going out.
Leave.
There we go.
There we go.
we finally killed.
Can you hear me now?
I got so excited we killed off Pinky.
I can hear you. I don't know if anything matters though.
Are you still lagging here?
He's lagging so bad, like he's playing.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Tell your family to get off the internet for the next 20 minutes so we can finish our conversation.
He's playing Warzone. He's lagging really hard down there in Al Mazrah.
My man's glitching.
I don't know anybody that's on the internet right now. My son's asleep. My daughter's making food. My other daughter's asleep. My son just left. And my wife, I don't know what my wife's doing.
What happened all of a sudden here? We're having a good conversation, and you just went MIA on us, basically.
Right there. This needs to be our Instagram reel.
Gosh dang it! Gosh dang it, Pinky!
This needs to be our Instagram reel. When
I got
Pinky
nothing.
went lagging.
I got nothing.
Close out everything.
Yeah.
Everything and restart it and come back in.
We're kicking you out and you'll come back in.
Oh God, you could kick me out altogether.
Close it all out.
This man's glitching out like he's playing Rocket League.
He's looking like Penelope, what's her face from Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh yeah.
For all you people.
Or even like Rick and Morty. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'll have to say this again when Pinky comes back, and hopefully he can hear us again. Pinky's notorious for downgrading quarterbacks, but at the same time saying, well, if you protect this guy, he's good. If you don't protect this guy, he's bad. But that's true of any quarterback. Just like any running back needs an offensive line to run behind to be halfway decent. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you, bro. I can hear you. I heard you the whole time.
Okay. So where are we at?
All right. All right. Moving on.
Hang on. Because I want to get your take on this. I know you believe Javonte Williams is elite. He has a really good season this year, and he has 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. You're going to say he's a really good running back. But he's going to be running behind a really good offensive line. So what's the difference between him doing that and Isaiah Pacheco doing that?
I mean, I think I do think Javonte Williams is a much better runner than Isaiah Pacheco, period. And Javonte makes a lot of his own runs. Pacheco
but
runs
that's
hard.
kind of what we saw from Pacheco last year.
Pacheco runs hard, man. But that O-line, the middle of that O-line is the best in the NFL, period. Nobody's touching.
Better than the Eagles?
Yes. As a whole, the Eagles O-line, tackles-wise, is better. But there are three players, Thuney, Humphrey, and Smith, are better than any team in the NFL, period.
Better than Kelsey, Lane Johnson, and
Lane Johnson's a tackle. Lane Johnson's a tackle. Inside. Their inside players are better than any team in the league.
But what's it matter if it's just the inside versus the whole offensive line?
Pacheco does all of his running inside, man. He doesn't go outside. Everything is inside with that guy. Watch it.
Okay, so if he goes outside and inside this year, runs for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, does that change your tune at all?
I don't see anything special from the guy. I don't. Pacheco's not a special running back. He's not.
Okay, we'll move along. Go ahead and put that on your notes for me, so we can come back to that and revisit it. Let's mark that down on the list if you don't mind.
Yeah, because we're gonna roast you tomorrow or next week. Sorry, we're gonna roast you next week.
You won't be able to roast me next week. You'll be able to roast me in the season, but not next week.
I could probably even roast you tomorrow, considering mainly Broncos is tomorrow.
I mean, that's probably true. That's probably true.
Pinky, you know me. I don't roast. I don't cut people off at the knees if they're not around. It's not my game. But put it on your list.
I got it. I got it down.
Okay.
I got it down.
Okay. What else you got for us, my guy?
Are the Bills able to compete with the Chiefs and the Bengals?
Yes. Of course. Yes, they are. Yes, of course they are. But it's like the question is just, are they able to get, because they are a Super caliber team, but like, can they get over the very typical Buffalo Bills hump, that they've been accustomed to in their team history? Can they get over it and actually win the elusive Super Bowl? That's the question. They've definitely shown that they are capable with Josh Allen, to beat a Kansas City Chiefs team or go toe-to-toe with a Kansas City Chiefs team or even beat a Cincinnati Bengals. Like they have very clearly shown that. Like It's just, can they actually get it done? And so it almost leads you to believe that, is this Bills team, is this the make or break it year? Like, obviously the frustrations are going to be, be there with, Stephon Diggs. If not, it's already there, but it's going to be a very interesting season for Buffalo. It is going to be a very interesting season.
You go, and then I'll give you my take.
I'm not sure that the Buffalo Bills are the best team in their division right now.
Okay, who is?
I think Miami's the best team in that division.
Ray, if you're listening, jot that down. Jot that down. I don't know, man. I mean, the Bills have won the division in a lot of years, and the last few years, they've clearly been the juggernaut of that division. Miami's good. And I do think that they'll be better this upcoming year, but they have to show that they are a regular division winner for them to be that.
Buffalo barely beat Miami with Skylar Thompson playing. Like, they struggled to win that game against Skylar Thompson at quarterback. If Tua is healthy, with Vic Fangio at defensive coordinator, I don't know if Buffalo's the best team in that division right now.
Oh my!
Cam, get ready for a headache. Pinky, are you ready? Pew 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 pew. I know people are going to call this a hot take. Buffalo's the third best team in that division. What I saw down the stretch from that team is a team that is sliding. The way they finished last season, and I agree with Pinky. What I saw in the playoffs, if Miami has Tua, Miami smokes Buffalo. Smokes them in Buffalo. And Cam, I had Buffalo as a Super Bowl favorite 2 years ago. We had them as one of the top three last year, and I feel like they faded horribly down the stretch. Do you believe Miami, if Tua's healthy all season, is better? I do believe that New York is going to be better. Now, I'm not talking. I'm not talking like it's a drastic difference. We're talking very incremental here. We're talking a 1A, B, and C. But if I have to pick,
it's razor thin. Razor thin.
But if we have to pick, I've got Buffalo third in that division. Now, with that being said, Pinky and I always, before the season starts, we release our record predictions. I have not looked at schedules yet. There's a good chance that based on schedule, I could have Buffalo winning the division still. That doesn't mean I believe they're the best team in that division, though. As of right now, I do believe Buffalo is the third best team in that division.
I need Dr. Phil.
Hey, Pinky.
I will say, I do, like I said, I do think Miami's better. I do think they're a better football team. But again, like, they have to show it. The thing is, like, it's kind of like the Patriots, right? Like when the Patriots were winning so many divisions. Like, it needs to get to the point where I'm going to need to see the Jets, the Dolphins, these other teams play and be successful as far as like winning and win multiple divisions like in a row for me to actually say, or even a division, like actually win a division this year for me to say, or even conjure the thought.
Well, Cam, conjure this thought. Just conjure this thought. And granted, it's a what if, and I get it, show me thing. I am usually on that show me kind of tip. But if Tua's healthy all year, does Buffalo win the division?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then. Okay.
But I will say, if there is a team, because like the the Jets, to pour a little bit cold water on the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and I know you're a huge Rodgers fan, and I'm definitely a huge fan of him as a quarterback too. It's just, I just wonder, because like there were moments, and again, like who knows, it was like an anomaly. Like last year, Stafford was poopy, Russell was poopy, A-Rod was poopy.
I mean, Rodgers played with a broken thumb on his throwing hand last year. Nobody seems to want to talk about that.
No, but I mean, like, and Russ obviously dealt with numerous injuries. Stafford, I sure dealt with numerous injuries, but it's just like, but like, I think is like,
let's be honest. Sorry, side note. If Stafford was a baseball player, he wouldn't have played last year. He would have been out for 18 months with the UCL, and he would have had Tommy John.
Right. Well, but what I'm saying is like, the question is like roster wise, the Jets and Dolphins. That's kind of like what I keep coming back to, because and obviously coach as well. I mean, that's where I kind of lean more to Miami. So if I'm going to probably pick a team that can challenge Buffalo, it is Miami. Like it is Miami, just from the McDaniels stuff and McDaniels stuff.
If the Jets had competent quarterback play last year, they're in the playoffs.
Right.
If they have good quarterback play, they're fighting for the division. I think this is what gets me, Cam, and I think, and I've had to think about this a lot, and it goes back to, and I've seen a domino effect since then. And I could be way off. If I am more crow, I eat it all the time. I don't really care. I think we saw a snapshot of things to come, and it's starting to play out as true. And I'm amazed Buffalo gave him an extension. The decisions that McDermott made in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs to allow them to lose that game 2 years ago, from not doing the squib kick to playing off ball on Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and not pressuring them. I think those were snapshots of things to come, and I think those started playing out true down the stretch last year. And the only reason Buffalo was able to move on was because the other teams in that division had glaring issues at the quarterback spot that they weren't able to overcome. And lucky for Buffalo, Josh Allen was able to play. If they don't, I don't think Buffalo finishes over 500. I think they're a long way from that, unfortunately. Whereas Miami was able to finish over 500 with Tua missing multiple games, and the Jets hovered right around 500 without any quarterback, for that matter.
Yeah,
I don't think Buffalo could be said for the same thing.
But like, so that you can understand, it's like I'm not saying that it can't happen. Like I'm saying that like Miami roster, Jets roster is like not capable of dethroning the Bills, this year and winning the division. I'm not like saying that like can't happen, because weirder things have happened, and so it wouldn't surprise me. I'm just saying, like, again, I have to see it to believe it, if you will. Like so because Miami's roster is really good. It's really talented. It's young. It's ready to go. And with McDaniel, who knows? Like it very well could be like the San Franciscos of that division, to where it seems like there are better teams in that division, but it's like San Francisco. They are always there. They always somehow just seem to always come out on top. It could be like that. Like it could be like that with the Miami Dolphins. The Jets, you just don't know with that window. So like if the Jets win that division and they win it with if they win it with Rodgers in that 1 year, okay, here goes that second season. Can they win it again? And then if so, with that window, what's going to happen next? And like if they keep Zach Wilson, if they go into 2024 and get their new quarterback or whatever to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, is he going to be the guy that's going to sit underneath that and then help continue that and winning the division and stuff like that? So the Jets, for me, is more about their window. Miami is the one team truly, like if you were to say, is again roster, everything else, the team that can challenge Buffalo based on longevity and youth.
This might be considered another hot take. It's not for me. I'm thinking strictly as a football perspective and how close Miami and the Jets were last year to playoffs or moving on in the playoffs in the Dolphins' perspective, in their case. If I'm either one of those teams, I'm immediately going out right now and I'm talking to Carson Wentz and I'm saying, look, we'll pay you above average backup quarterback to come sit behind Tua and Rodgers. Because if either one of them goes down, I believe Wentz, while not a great quarterback any longer, is enough to get them both into the playoffs. And we all know once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Whereas where they stand right now, if Tua or Rodgers goes down, I think both of those teams are screwed.
Yeah. It's possible. And I mean, like we saw it with the Broncos, right? Like even if Brock Osweiler never amounted to anything, he is one of, if not the reasons why they made it to the Super Bowl and then got there and won. Like you need a quarterback that can come in and be competent and but funny enough with Carson and Wentz, it happened with Nick Foles. Like Nick Foles showed to be that guy to take them to a Super Bowl, and they won. They beat the New England Patriots.
Big D Nick. Big D Nick.
Got any more NFL stories? Or are we worried about Pinky's internet?
I trust Pinky's internet more than the Broncos right now. I'm just saying.
I mean, what else we got?
The last thing is I've got 5 teams that I have as candidates for the number 1 pick next season.
Ooh, 5. That's much bigger than I would initially guess. Where are we at? Obviously, Cardinals.
Cardinals are my top. If I was betting on somebody, I'm betting on the Cardinals.
Wait, pause. Help me out here. That hurts you because you believe the Broncos are going to be better than Pinky's internet? Like, I mean, look, Pinky always gets on me because I'm a Debbie Downer on the Broncos, but he is being realistic with the situation, and I find it amazing to me that Broncos fans continuously to hope when things aren't hopeful.
Hold on, bro. We've been doing this 3 years. My internet has been just fine until tonight. So I want to hear that shit. Okay? But Cardinals, I've got them rated as the top team.
Sure.
With the Commanders as a close second.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
I have the Falcons, the Rams, and the Bucks as my top 5 teams to land Caleb Williams.
I could get behind all of those. I see actually the Commanders as a dark horse to get into the playoffs in the NFC. People are forgetting that Sam Howell was arguably going to be a number 1 possible pick had he come out a year earlier, and instead he went back to college. So Sam Howell is more talented than people want to believe. The downfall of the Commanders is the head coach, not the talent on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Rivera is the reason why they're not going to do anything, but they're going with Sam Howell.
I think people are forgetting how talented Sam Howell was graded out as before he decided to go back to North Carolina for another year and play on a team that wasn't very good, and it downgraded his stock. And now they have Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. So I'm personally surprised you got the Commanders on that list. Everybody else I can get behind.
I mean, and also it's a pretty talented roster. Like the Commanders is a pretty talented roster. It's there's some flaws, to it, and they kind of feel like a little bit of a quarterback away to a certain extent. But they really are kind of putting all their eggs in the Sam Howell basket right now. And yeah, it's kind of curious. What, do you have Houston in that?
I do not.
I would actually put the Patriots before I'd put the Commanders.
Ooh, no way. No way. Not with Bill Belichick, bro. Not with Bill Belichick. He's going to win 6 to 7 games, even with a shitty team. I do think Bill O'Brien will make Mac Jones better.
We saw Mac Jones ceiling his rookie year.
I think they can replicate. They made the playoffs his rookie year, so I think they can duplicate that with an offensive coordinator.
Not with the division better now than it was 2 years ago.
I mean, yeah, they don't probably make the playoffs, in my opinion, but I think they're better than they were last year.
Okay, I'm with Cam too. I would have Houston over the Commanders as well, but they're not going to be in the Caleb Williams. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think Arizona, if anything, Arizona was smart enough to get back into the pool and dump Rosen and go after Kyler Murray.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the other thing, though.
I guess Houston couldn't do the same thing.
Even if Houston sucks that bad, the Arizona Cardinals have their first-round pick next year.
That's a good point. So there's no way Houston's going to be in that pool. So that's a good point there. I'm just kind of going through divisions right now in my head. Tampa, I like. I agree with. I could see the Rams having a really bad year. I could also see them being 500. You still got Kupp. You still got Stafford. Akers isn't terrible. You still got Aaron Donald. Yeah, I'm not on you with the Commanders. I see them minimum right around that 500 line.
I have a wild card, and it really hurts my soul. But like, it's also based on the situation and based on that the team, but the Raiders.
I can see that without a doubt.
Like,
yeah,
and it hurts my soul just simply from the fact if they get the first overall pick, they have Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, you put Caleb Williams with Josh McDaniels, and then of course Devontae Adams. You have Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert in one division.
But you still have Josh McDaniels. He's awful.
If Josh McDaniels...
As a head coach, he's bad. And I don't see that changing. But as somebody who can elevate a quarterback, he made Tebow look good. Let's be honest.
There's only one person who carries the ball right here.
He was already fired by then, by the way.
So he drafted him.
He did draft him.
And he drafted Demaryius Thomas. Same draft. And Noshawn Moreno, who is 6th all-time in Denver Broncos rushing history.
If he could have stayed healthy, the talent there could have been wild. Yeah, I don't think if the Raiders got the first overall pick, I don't see Devontae Adams sticking around. I see him getting forced out.
Chandler Jones, maybe even Max Crosby.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll give you 4 out of the 5. I don't see the Commanders being that bad. Honestly, let's throw in another hot take for people to chew on for the next couple weeks.
Thanks.
I could see the Commanders' dark horse win that division because it's the NFC East and nobody's ever repeated.
I mean, if there's anything history's taught us about that division, it's unpredictable. That said, though, I still am going to roll with the Eagles. But, I mean, if there's anything that's going to be said about that division, it's been unpredictable. But I think what would not shock me, do I think it's going to happen? And if we're going to be going off of the Fire McCarthy train, I wouldn't be surprised, say Dallas, just does not perform. What would we be surprised if they finish above Dallas in that division? So you have Philadelphia, then Commanders, then Dallas? Or would we even be surprised if the Giants finish ahead of Dallas because of Brian Dable? Like
No, it would nothing with the NFC East would surprise me, just because we're going on what 12 years, something like that, with a non-repeat NFC East champion, which is just absurd to say given some of the teams that have been there. And the Commanders have won that division a couple times with squads that people said there's no way that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't see it from the Commanders. I just don't.
Let's be perfectly honest with this question. I like the question, Pinky. I'll give you 4 out of the 5. Any of us see a possible scenario where the Cardinals aren't the first overall pick?
I don't. When it opens up on DraftKings, I am putting money on them being the number 1 pick.
I think that's a safe bet. And honestly, the fact that you don't have Houston in that 5, you could almost say it's a safe bet to say the Cardinals are going to have the first and second overall picks in next year's draft. And I don't think that would be crazy.
That's right, because didn't they trade? Yeah.
Man, if the Cards get the first and the number 2 pick and they trade Kyler for more picks,
think about this.
That's dope.
Kyler, for whatever you can get for him, you draft Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. first and second. And then you spend the rest of your draft capital on your offensive line and defensive line. The Cardinals could literally go from 0 to Super Bowl contender in 2 years. On paper, based on the talent they have.
I mean,
now, we all know the NFL is crazy, but
I mean, they'd have to have a coach too, though.
Look, they might have their coach right now. Next year will not be and should not be a prove it year or make it or break it year for him.
I also have another wild card.
Okay.
This is going to surprise some people because of who they just signed. Tennessee.
That would not surprise me, actually. Tennessee is where wide receivers
their odds
go
didn't
die.
move. Yeah, their odds did not move.
Well, and I'm saying, like, the wide receiver room, they obviously needed Hopkins, right? But, like, we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Will Levis is still an unknown. He's a project. Ryan Tannehill, it's very shown he can't get them over the hump. He was successful for a few years, but he could never really get it, to where they needed to be. The offense, as we all know, flows right through Derrick Henry. I mean, and the defense is up and down. We all know who's probably going to be the kings of that division for a couple of years now, many years maybe even to come, and that'd be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Whoever thought that would ever happen?
This guy did.
I know I said that the Jacksonville Jaguars would be good, but this was a while back. But I mean,
I said they make the playoffs last year. Did I not, Pinky?
You did.
But I mean, like, so I would not be.
I like that, Cam, because Tennessee might have the biggest plus minus in the league as far as wins. I could see them somehow dark horsing their way to the Super Bowl, and I could see them falling on their face, like you just said, and getting the number 1 overall pick.
Because, like, we all know what the offense resides with, right? Derrick Henry. Yeah. So he falls down to injury for however long of games he's out. It could make or break whether or not they have a top 3 pick.
Yep, like it.
Yeah. Then they'll probably trade it to Philadelphia, get A.J. Brown back. I'm kidding.
Yeah, God, you think about that. They didn't want to pay A.J. Brown, but then they paid the money to DeAndre Hopkins. That's just...
Or immediately draft Treylon Burks. And I like Burks, but like...
Yeah. It just made no sense. let's take it a step further as the league as a whole is concerned. The idea that you don't pay a star is foolish from a team perspective. And then on the other side of that coin, I know I said I'm player centric, but anybody ever in the history of the league ever believes a player when they say, I want rings, not dollars, you should immediately no longer be allowed to speak on anything. Because anybody that believed DeAndre Hopkins when he said, I value three things, a strong ownership, a strong front office, and an overall solid team talent above dollars. And then he went to Tennessee. So let's just remember that when a player says that they value anything above dollars, they're probably lying through their teeth.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, fellas, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Pinky has bad internet. Miami sucks. Go Big Red. And he said that Joel Embiid is better than Jokic.
That never happened. That never happened.
Dude, let me have my Kendrick Perkins moment, okay? And then let's see. And George Payton's the GOAT. Justin Fields is a running back.
Oh, God,
and
damn it.
And and Mundugas can't find his mouse.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Fun. Pinky, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I'm gonna have to get on the show next week just because.
Check in from South Dakota.
Yeah, because fuck you guys. You Nebraska loving motherfuckers.
Stick in that skin, my guy. This is nothing compared to what I had to listen to when I was out. So easy does it, buddy.
You're outnumbered.
It wasn't that bad. I'm just as football season approaches, I'm excited, man. I was gonna say one of the topics I had, and we went a little long, was just like we are in the golden age of quarterbacks. Quarterback play is really, really good. I'm a Broncos guy.
Mm-hmm.
I typically hate it that the Chiefs beat us 15 times in a row. Mahomes is a god, man. Watching him, the things he can do is amazing. Herbert, when he's on point, is amazing. Allen's amazing. Burrow is I love Joe Cool. I call him Joe Cool. That dude's amazing.
Should have been a Nebraska Husker.
We are very lucky.
Don't go there, Cam.
We are very lucky to be watching this level of quarterback play.
Pinky, I like the tease because that's something I was going to bring up when you come back. So we'll dive into that more. That'll be a fun discussion for sure. I completely agree with you, golden age of quarterbacks. My final thought, I'm going to say, and I said it earlier, and I truly believe it, the NFL's got a year to correct this running back situation, or we're about to witness a cliff dive of epic proportion and a whole new style of football with what I believe will be a wasteland at that quarterback position going forward. So that's something I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on, how the next offseason plays out. There's some major guys that are going to be coming up as free agents. Saquon, Jonathan Taylor. There's a few others. Next offseason is going to be a huge deal when it comes to that position and the future of it. So that'll be interesting to watch and see. Pinky, I know you've got a really fun trip planned next week, a pretty epic concert to go to. I'm happy for you. That's going to be a blast.
I don't have any concerts till August, baby.
What are you going to South Dakota for?
Just the wife's always wanted to go to Mount Rushmore, so we plan.
Oh, I thought this was a concert.
Nope. No. That was like years ago. I had tickets to Rage Against the Machine, and they were going to be playing in Sioux
COVID,
Falls.
I thought, right?
Yeah. I had those tickets for like 3 years. I thought this was a
makeup for that. I was just way off then, huh?
No, Zach De La Rocha, the second show, blew his Achilles out, and they had to cancel the rest of the tour.
Okay. Well, then just enjoy the family trip. You know how we feel about that, and I'll end the show here in a second that way. Cam, I will see you next week in all red. That'll be a lot of fun, and we'll start off hot. On that note, as always, we appreciate the support. I know that's generic, and a lot of people say it, but there's no other way to express how we feel other than to just say it. We can't thank you enough. We can't express it enough. We appreciate all of you who support us, follow us, like us, share us, subscribe to us, whatever you want to call it. And like Pinky's doing next week to miss the show, it's an epically good reason. Those people you consider in your inner circle, family, friends, loved ones, whatever they may be, do not take those moments for granted. Cherish them and take advantage of them as much as opportunities allow. Everybody, have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day.